Wild times.
Discovered in the deep sea, of course, that's where we discover everything.
Yep.
The longest living animal in the world.
As in, it lives the longest, or it is physically the longest?
Physically the Sorry, that's a very good point. I worded that terribly.
Okay.
It is the longest animal on Earth in length.
The longest
Wow.
animal?
Yes.
But not the biggest.
Nope, but the longest.
Okay, what do we got?
So off the west coast of Australia,
Of course it's there.
a 45 meter, not foot, 45 meter long deep sea siphonophore. So like a jellyfish, basically.
Okay.
45 meters long. Just imagine this giant string of jellyfish.
How
chain.
long is a meter for us?
3.5 feet.
3.5 feet.
So we're looking at 135. We're looking at 157 feet.
That's math.
Yeah.
That's
157 feet long.
Living animal.
How long's a school bus, Kyle? That is
It's going to be 40 feet, I'm guessing.
35.
35 feet.
So we're talking about basically 5 school buses.
That's
long.
a very long
What is this
animal.
What's a
Yeah, so
siphonophore?
siphonophore, it's a filter-feeding jellyfish, right? So it's like when you see salps or things like that. Oh, Kyle's got a video up of it on the screen here. And so what it is it's actually really interesting. A lot of these siphonophores, jellyfish, these gelatinous deep-sea creatures are actually multiple living organisms that are linked. So this could actually be millions of living organisms that are living right next to each other. And I'm not sure. I don't think they know because, they just have video footage of it. But
Right.
like there's things like SALPs. Kyle, if you just Google SALP, SALPS, that are whole colonies of living jellyfish that come together to form one giant organism. So like look there with the diver.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
see that those are all different living organisms, but they link up to make one gigantic organism. Now I've seen salps that are 5, 8, 6 feet long, whatever. But to have one that's 45 meters long, 160 foot long is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, with the salps, what's the benefit to the salps? Is this how they reproduce, or like do they exchange nutrients? Why do they do this?
That's a good question. I actually don't know what the benefit is. I mean, maybe Kyle can look it up. But I mean, it makes sense in the sense of you're a very soft, fragile, gelatinous creature. You're filter feeding and getting, zooplankton and algae from the sun in the ocean. And so in order to not just be demolished by a fish's fin or gobbled up by anything, if you sort of link up and group together, it's not just the safety in numbers, but it just sort of makes you a larger mass and less likely to just be destroyed. But I don't know if that's exactly why.
Yeah, it says they synchronize when threatened by predators or strong waves and currents.
Yeah, there you go. But it just makes sense. I mean, they're literally like, I've been in places, I don't even like to admit this, where you're diving and the salps are so thick, like you push your hand and you like destroy like 4 of them, right? Mm-hmm. But when they're all linked together, they're much more, it's like taking a twig and snapping it, easy, stack a bunch of twigs, you can't break it, right?
So they found this 170 foot creature 2,000 feet down in an underwater canyon off the coast of Western Australia. For those who are only listening, it just looks like a thin white rope that's all swirled up.
Yep.
Just kind of floating there.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing. And the other thing that's interesting about deep sea siphonophores, because they are filter feeders, there's much less to eat down there. So it sort of begs the question, because, siphonophores, they're eating zooplankton and algae, right? Which is a product of the sun and photosynthesis. So if you're in the deep sea, it's very interesting to think, how do you get something that's that huge, that's being biosustained in that depth without solar interaction? So maybe that has a vertical migration. Maybe that giant thing comes up during the day and sinks at night.
Right.
Who knows? But it is really interesting.
So it's interesting though that there's less food down there, but things like sperm whales dive really deep to feed. Giant squid live really deep.
Yeah.
So there are maybe a lot of fish down there, a lot of stuff to eat for larger predators, but for these things,
undeniably, there's a whole ecosystem down there, and I mean, there's a massive ecosystem just based on dead stuff that sinks to the depths. Like dead whales and things that sink down and bring nutrients. So, if you think about like the surface of the ocean, and you think about all the sun rays hitting the ocean, anytime any of those zooplankton, algae, phytoplankton die, they sink down because they stop swimming. And so if you ever look at deep sea footage, it often looks like it's snowing. And what that snowstorm look is actually dying and sort of congregating mass of bionutrients coming from the surface and sinking down into the deep ocean, which is actually, it's not as bioavailable because it's dead and it's rotted and, you know, it's not as abundant and lively as it is on the surface where there's photosynthesis, but there is this sort of snowstorm of micronutrients available down there, which has formed a whole ecosystem. And until the 80s or 90s, I forget, we thought every ecosystem, every form of life known to man was founded by the sun. And then we discovered hydrothermal vents in those ecosystems. We're like, oh, there's a whole nother type of life down here that doesn't require, you know, sun energy.
Right. Which is fucking crazy because they survive off the methane, right, that comes up?
Correct. Yeah. The heat generated from the methane and just that whole thing. But it also sort of changed our understanding of life as we know it, because we always looked at life, like extraterrestrial life, aliens, as being like, oh, you know, if the planet's in a certain way, there's no way it could support life because it doesn't have sun, it doesn't have photosynthesis, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Life can evolve completely independently of photosynthesis.
Right. Well, what do you think you'd be more interested in if you got to see one of these two things happen in your lifetime? They discover a deep sea creature that is like twice as big as a blue whale. That's like some crazy thing. It's a predator. It's got big teeth. Doesn't look like anything known right now.
The Meg.
It's essentially a megalodon, but it's got octopus arms. It's fucking, you know, it's the craziest thing ever.
Okay.
They discover that, or in your lifetime, UFO comes down, lands, little green alien fellas walk out.
Well, I know Peter's answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously it'd be way more insane for the alien to come down.
Okay.
Is it? Is that more insane?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
than a mega predator in the deep ocean?
It involves changing our entire understanding of physics. So,
but we know we don't know, but we also do. We don't know, but we know that there's other life. We just don't know how far. What do you mean?
Well, because
let me ask you that again.
Because if an alien form came to Earth in some kind of a craft that defies the laws of gravity as we know it, for example, which is how most theories think that aliens do get here. It's more than just discovering another biological creature that's under the sea. In my opinion, my professional opinion.
What do you go for?
I'd rather see the giant deep sea
The giant megalodon with octopus arms?
Yeah,
Why?
for sure.
Why? What's your reasoning?
Just, it's dope.
An alien wouldn't be dope? Come on.
What if it's this megalodon, it's the size of two blue whales, it's got octopus arms.
Yeah.
It dies and somehow floats to the surface for whatever reason. They cut it open to see what it's been eating, and they realize it only eats humans.
Then I like it even more. That's like the coolest thing ever.
100% of people who have ever gone missing in the ocean were eaten by this creature.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's not only is that
I might
great.
take that. Yeah,
it's a great movie premise. Like,
great movie
everything.
premise.
Wild times.
So if you want more behind the scenes stuff that we cannot show on YouTube, Darwin Awards, video breakdowns and reviews, check out the Patreon. It's full of hours and hours of incredible exclusive content, stuff that you guys are gonna love. Swipe up, click the link, do the thing, come and hang out on Patreon. See you guys there.